I never thought a single text could drain 12 years of love from my body like that. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was finishing up a meeting when my phone buzzed. Her name flashed across the screen. Lena. I hadn't heard from her in a week. Not since she'd moved out. Her message read, "I get half of it in the divorce. Thanks for the retirement fund. LOL. I stared at the screen for a long minute. The LOL burned. It wasn't laughter, it was mockery, the kind that comes when someone already knows they've won. I didn't reply. I just sat there, hand frozen over the phone, my coworkers talking around me as if the world hadn't just shifted. Lena and I met in college. I was 23, broke, and working 2 jobs. She was studying marketing, smart, confident, with the kind of charm that filled every room. We moved in together 2 years later, got married the year after that. For the next decade, I built everything I could for us. I started my own construction company, small, then medium, then successful. I skipped vacations, turned down hobbies, and poured every spare dollar into our future. Our retirement fund. She worked too at first. Then she said she wanted to find herself. I supported it. I figured she'd go back eventually. She didn't. By year 8, she'd become a full-time influencer of sorts, posting photos of brunches, sunsets, and gym selfies with captions about manifesting abundance. I was proud of her confidence, until her captions started sounding like they were directed at me. Never settle for someone who doesn't match your vibration. You don't owe anyone your peace. It wasn't subtle, but I ignored it. I thought maybe it was just a phase. The cracks became canyons slowly. We started arguing about everything, money, weekends, even what to watch at night. She'd roll her eyes when I got home from work, covered in sawdust, while she sat editing photos for Instagram. "You look exhausted," she'd say. "You should learn to enjoy life more." But enjoying life, to me, meant building something lasting. To her, it meant being adored online. The last real conversation we had was about finances. She said she wanted to open a joint investment account to manage our growth. I agreed, but something felt off. She suddenly cared about money again, after years of ignoring bills. When I hesitated, she called me controlling. "You act like I don't deserve anything," she said. I told her she did, but I also knew what I'd worked for. 3 weeks later, she packed a suitcase while I was at work. She left a note on the kitchen counter. "I need space. Don't make this ugly." That was it. 12 years reduced to 12 words. So that text, the retirement fund joke, wasn't just a message. It was a declaration. She wasn't heartbroken. She was strategic. That night, I opened the spreadsheet I'd built years ago. Every deposit, every expense, every contribution. Documented, time-stamped, traced. I'd always been meticulous with numbers. Turns out that habit would save me. The next morning, I called my lawyer. "She wants half," I said. He sighed. "They all do. But here's the thing. Lena had forgotten that half of what she wanted was tied to something she'd never earned. My company wasn't marital property. It was incorporated before we were married. The retirement fund was in my name, funded through business profits I documented separately. I didn't tell her that. I let her believe she'd already won. Over the next few weeks, her attitude shifted from smug to anxious. Her texts grew shorter, colder. She stopped posting daily selfies and started sharing vague quotes about trusting the process. When the financial disclosures came through, she realized the truth. She wasn't getting half. Not even close. Still, I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. The win felt hollow. I'd built a life-expecting partnership, not competition. The woman I once called my best friend was now someone trying to profit off my loyalty. One night, a friend asked me, "Do you regret marrying her?" I thought for a while before answering. "No," I said. "I regret not noticing when she stopped being my partner. Because by the time you see it, it's already over." A month passed after that text. I didn't reach out, didn't check her socials, didn't ask mutual friends about her. Silence was my closure. But then something unexpected happened, something that changed how I saw everything that came before. It started with a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. Her voice was trembling, something I hadn't heard in years. "Hey, it's me. I think we should talk. Please call me back. I didn't. A few days later, she tried again. Then came a text. Can we meet? I owe you an apology. That word, "owe," felt strange coming from her. She'd spent years teaching herself never to owe anyone anything. Still, curiosity is a stubborn thing. Against better judgment, I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe downtown. She looked different. No designer handbag, no fake laughter, no phone on the table. Just Lena, the one I remembered from before the filters. For a moment, I almost felt something like nostalgia. Then she spoke. I messed up. Simple words, but heavy. I didn't respond. She told me she'd been seeing someone. Someone who promised her the freedom she thought I'd taken away. A photographer she'd met during a brand shoot. They'd been together for months before she left. He'd convinced her that she deserved better, that I was holding her back. He said we'd travel, start a business together. But after I moved in, I realized. She trailed off, her hands shaking. He just wanted my following. She laughed bitterly, like she finally understood the joke that had been on her all along. He drained my account. Everything I saved is gone. He disappeared last week. I listened in silence. There it was, the LOL from her text, coming full circle. She looked at me with eyes that once knew me better than anyone else's. I thought money meant freedom. Now I realize it was just another cage. I nodded, not out of pity, but acknowledgement. There was truth in her words, but truth doesn't erase damage. Lena, I said quietly, when you texted me that day, I didn't even care about the money. I cared that you could laugh about it. She looked down. I know. The silence stretched. For the first time in years, it wasn't hostile, it was just final. When I left that cafe, I didn't feel revenge or satisfaction. I felt relief. Not because she'd lost, but because I finally stopped needing her to understand what she'd done. That night, I went home and opened the same spreadsheet, the one that once tracked our shared future. I deleted it. Every cell, every number, every trace of the life we'd planned together. It wasn't about wiping her out. It was about freeing myself from the constant audit of what I gave versus what I got. Weeks passed. The divorce finalized quietly. She got what the court decided fair, but not half. I signed the papers, shook my lawyer's hand, and walked out feeling lighter. That evening, I drove to the lake an hour outside the city. The same place where Lena and I used to sit during the early years, dreaming about houses and vacations we never took. The air was cold, the kind that clears your head. I sat on the hood of my truck, watching the sun drop behind the water. I thought about how love turns into resentment, how people lose each other not in one fight, but through 1,000 small choices. For the first time, I didn't replay the arguments. I didn't try to rewrite the ending. I just let it be what it was, a story that had run its course. A month later, I heard she'd moved back to her parents' place. No job, no following, no fiancé. I didn't smile when I found out. I just hoped she learned something real this time, something worth more than half of anything. I've rebuilt since then. I still run my business, still wake up early, still chase new contracts. But I do it differently now. I set boundaries with work, with people, with myself. I learned that peace isn't something you earn. It's something you protect. Last week, while cleaning out an old drawer, I found our wedding photo. We looked happy, young, uncomplicated. For a second, I considered throwing it away. Instead, I slid it back into the drawer. Some memories don't need to be erased. They just need to stay where they belong. That night, I wrote a single line in my journal. She wanted half of everything. What she never understood was, I gave her all of me. And for the first time since that text, I smiled. Not because I won, but because I finally stopped playing the game.